So up next is my friend Sandy Weiss, and Sandy is the commissioner of the Mystery League. He has been making puzzles and games since he was a teenager, and he specializes in making puzzle hunts. He lives in Chicago with his wife and 2 kids, with whom he makes a podcast. I give you Sandy.
Hello. My name's Sandy Weiss. I run a company called the Mystery League, which, like Melissa said, puts on puzzle hunts. A puzzle hunt is like a scavenger hunt, but with puzzles. Companies hire me to put them on for their employees, for team building, for retreats and stuff. They last about 3 hours. The way it works is you're given a guide or a map, and you're told to tromp around a neighborhood or a park or a museum and look and find and solve puzzles. And it's great, and it's a lot of fun. And usually they last about 3 hours, and they hold about 50 people. A year ago, I got asked to do something several orders of magnitude bigger for Cards Against Humanity. Cards Against Humanity hired me to put a puzzle in their holiday promotion, which they call Holiday Bullshit, which you give them money and they give you a series of gifts over the course of December. And the idea of making a puzzle hunt for 150,000 people sign up for this thing, and like 8,000 or so are going to play the puzzle. And the idea of making puzzles for that many people means, of course, yes, you have to make them harder, but it's more about making them bigger, touching more people. So we came up with this idea where we'd build a puzzle room. I don't know if you've been in a puzzle room, but typically there's like 12 or 16 people in them. Well, ours only had 1 person, and all the clues to solve the puzzles to get the person out of the room were embedded in these gifts that were being sent to thousands of people and were out in the real world. And every day the person in the room would have to broadcast for a few minutes through Periscope, which is a live video feed, and look around the room and send information out to the crowd who would congregate online in communities, decide which was the best instructions to send back to the person in the room, vote on them, and then they would get sent through a receipt printer in the room, and then the cycle would repeat every day, and it lasted like 3 weeks. And it was, it was amazing. And this is a part of our planning process, like our Carrie Matheson board, where we're trying to connect the distribution of the puzzles and the distribution of the clues and what was going to be revealed in the game. It was a lot of work, but we made a point of trying to make these puzzles, accessible and community around the community. So here's an example. We had a ransom note in the room that the guy found on the first day. And you'll notice that there's little bits of newspaper, right? Well, the newspaper bits came from a gift that Cards subscribers got several weeks into the promotion. And once they got it, they realized, oh yeah, these bits from the ransom note come from this newspaper. Well, what they had to realize, what the clue was, what the puzzle was that if you took the letters out of the words that they came from and read the remainder of the words, like if you read P-A-G-E along with all the other ones, it gave you a message. And that message told you to look on a website, dieselsweeties.com, which is a comic strip, the same one that you see here. And if you go to a certain page on that website, you'd find a custom comic that we had the illustrator make for us, which is about a robot telling you all about where he had hid these cats that were kidnapped. It's a long story. Anyway, and the clues, which I won't get into right now, but I promise you, the clues told you where to look, which Starbucks around the country we had hid posters. Now, at this point, if you're playing this game, you're like, wait, you want me to get out from behind my computer and actually go out into the real world? But yes, that was the whole point. So like in Denver and San Francisco and Cambridge, we had our friends hang posters in Starbucks where people went and found their clues. And that solved to another step of the puzzle. Another example was we had these, the Cards Against Humanity sent letters in every package, letters from the founders of the game's fathers, real letters that they wrote on the themes of their promotion. And we read them and we found them to be very entertaining, and we thought, let's make Cards Against Humanity cards out of some expressions that we find in these letters. And so we did that. For example, like all the accumulated culture of a society or the dark side, etc. Right? These are real letters. We did not make these up. We took the phrases, made cards out of them, and then we took these cards and sent them to friendly game and comic book stores around the country. And we told them, we said, we're going to send puzzlers to you. Watch out, but until then, hide these cards. And so, and then we took all the list of about 20 or so stores. We put them on a Foursquare list, and then we hinted at that to the crowd, and we said, barely anything, but we gave them enough to make them find this page. And then they found this page, and they said, oh, I guess we're going to go to these stores. And so they got up out of their chairs again. They went out into the real world. You can see all around the country, and it said, hey, can you give me one of these special cards? And if you were lucky, you got one of these special cards. And when you got it, you noticed that there were 3 holes laser cut into them. And if you took the laser cut cards and aligned align them over the letters, remember the letters that the dads wrote? If you align them in the right spot, 3 words would pop out. And using the words that popped out, and I'm not going to get into exactly how, another message came through. Another example, on the 4th day, and I'm going really fast because there's so much more. On the 3rd day, you got a pack of cards, right? And we were not allowed to touch the wording on the cards. They spent a lot of time on that, but we were allowed to look at them beforehand. And I noticed that 3 of the cards started with W. WWW. It rang a bell. And I thought, what if I could build a URL out of the first letters of every one of the cards? So we built this whole story about comic books that had been stolen, and each of the comic book names shared a word with one of the Cards Against Humanity cards. There were 13 cards in the pack. And so if you figured out which ones corresponded with which comic books and put them in order and look at the first letters, you would see www.badash.catch, which is a URL that works. And when you go there, you find an actual store where you can actually buy real, well, not real, but you'd think real comic books. We set the price at $0, but we actually made them pay for it, or like go through the transactions, give us their address, after which we sent them not the actual comic, but a different comic where if you opened it to the right page and looked at the right letter and put all those letters together, you got the next step of the way. And so on and so on. Here's another one where we gave everyone a color, and then we had let them figure out that they had to put their color in the right spot on a grid based on their first and last initial, x-axis first initial, y-axis last initial, and then it formed the Kool-Aid Man busting through a yellow brick wall, which was a clue to tell the prisoner in the room to bust through a wall, which he did live on camera. We had one clue told the crowd to look up the San Francisco Chronicle on the day that Reagan was shot, which was like 1981. So someone had to go to a microfilm library and look up the actual chess column from that actual newspaper and compare it against a chessboard in the room, which led to another thing, and so on and so on and so forth. I'm barely scratching the surface of how big this thing was, and I'm really proud of all the things that we got done, and I'm really proud mostly of the community that was built around this, because these community became friends like for the 3 weeks they played the game, but on afterwards. But the thing I'm most proud of is they said something nice about me on Reddit.
Did you get that? So there's no more beer been served until you found the clue under your chair, and there's a letter under your chair. You've got to put that with the person to the 3rd table over, and no, let's not do that puzzle. Sandy, that's amazing. You've done something to the microphone here. So that's the first half of Pecha. Sandy needs another round of applause.